This is Sport Compact Car's Ultimate Street Car Challenge. 10 competitors. 15 brutal tests. 1 winner. The Ultimate Street Car Challenge is the quintessential test of performance, a gauntlet of trials held annually over 2 days to determine America's ultimate street car. Readers of Sport Compact Car magazine vote for their favorite 10 cars from hundreds of hopefuls who submit the official entry form each year. Last year, it was Detroit's turn, as a Viper GTS took top honors and all the accolades that go with it. This year, another Viper was selected to compete, but will it have enough all-around performance to be the ultimate street car for 2003? That's what we're about to answer with this behind-the-scenes look at one of the greatest gatherings of performance cars in North America, conducted by the editors of one of the best reads in the automotive world. It was burgers and fries for everyone before the competition turned ugly.
Too fast, too furious right now.
Bacon cheeseburger and chili cheese fries.
The Ultimate Street Car Challenge is about performance. We gather 10 of the country's greatest cars that guys have put their life, soul, and a ton of money into, and we take them to the track and the dyno, we drive them around, and we find out which is the best car in the country for 2003. There aren't any front-wheel drive cars because the fact is when you start getting into extremely powerful cars, 500, 600, 700 horsepower, front-wheel drive starts to really show problems. It can't get the power to the ground. So, any car that's going to be able to compete at this level, which is an extreme level of performance, all 10 of these cars these are the fastest cars in the country. You either need rear-wheel drive for the appropriate weight transfer or all-wheel drive, which is getting more and more popular. I think about half the field this year is all-wheel drive.
This year's competitors are a 2003 supercharged 350Z, an air-to-air intercooler, Hotchkiss coilover suspension, and Brembo 4-piston calipers. A 1994 Supra Turbo with a Greddy turbocharger and intercooler, HKS engine management, and a quick-time performance exhaust cutout to control back pressure and turbo spooling. A 2003 Ultima GTR with a BMW V12 power plant, Porsche 996 6-speed, and Alcon 4-piston calipers. A 1994 Eclipse GSX with a turbocharged 2-liter engine and all-wheel drive. A 1991 Skyline R32 right-hand drive with an OS Geiken 5-speed transmission, carbon-carbon twin-plate clutch assembly, and an XS Engineering T04 single turbo. A 1995 Eclipse GSX with a 2-liter Turbonetics turbocharged engine, Quave center diff with stock limited slip, aluminum flywheel, road race engineering suspension, and StopTech brakes. A 1996 Viper GTS with a 490 cubic inch V10, Vortex supercharger, Spearco intercooler, T56 6-speed, RPS flywheel, Brembo 4-piston calipers, and Coney double adjustable shocks. A 1997 Supra twin turbo with a Greddy intercooler, Apex electronics, teen coilovers and electronic dampening controls. A 1991 MR2 Turbo with a ball bearing turbo kit, 3-stage dry sump oil system and JE pistons, limited slip differential, coilover suspension, and Willwood 4-piston calipers. A 2000 Audi S4 with a 2.7-liter turbocharged engine, dual liquid intercoolers, and a true turbo back exhaust system. Day 1. The editors of Sport Compact Car came up with a simple scoring system. 10 points for just showing your face, zip for not, and another 100 points for being top dog. The rest of the field is awarded points on a mathematical curve. The day's tests are peak power, power delivery, emissions, grandma, car show, drivability, guru panel, fuel economy, and base price.
So we tried real hard to find clipboards and stuff like that last night, but Ralph's at 1 in the morning doesn't have clipboards for some reason. They had really nice insoles though for my shoes.
Good for you.
So, I mean, at least we got that.
At least you're comfortable sponsored shoes.
Yeah.
I know that way.
Yeah.
First, the Nitto Tire Dyno Test. Race car or street car? The 2003 Ultima GTR. Tubular chassis, fiberglass body, a midship BMW 6-liter V12.
Look at me and nod when you're ready. When you nod, I'm gonna hit the green button.
Okay.
When you see me hit the green button, I'm at it, you're ready to go.
Okay.
All right?
Invalid floating point operation. Bill Gates, fuck you. Other than Bill Gates, he also had the parking brake on. But because Bill Gates screwed him, he still gets 2 more runs. Lucky guy. Bill Gates is now his friend.
That's good for 408.6 horsepower at the wheels.
I've always wanted an Ultima, but they're just a little pricey. Plus it's a race car, it's not a street car. Let's be real. It's a kit car, that's all it is. It's a Toyota 3S GTE, fully built, running about 30 pounds of boost. Should make about 500 at the wheels, give or take.
The challenge was open to everyone, including something as affordable as a '91 MR2 Turbo. The midship MR2 pulled a more than respectable 483 horsepower.
It's still breaking up on the top. Yeah, see, at high RPM, it's still falling apart. There's some ignition problem, it looks like. So no, I mean, this curve should smoothly keep going out like this. He's losing out on a lot. He's probably losing out on 50 horsepower and peak power and a lot of power delivery. All this area here, he should be added into his power delivery score, and it's not going to be.
Is that the engine or is it the cable?
Oh, no, it's not the dyno. That's actually the engine.
One competitor is threatening the import's domination at the event. It's Detroit's supercar, the Viper GTS.
Don't tell him, but he's not icing his intercooler.
I guess 775.
It's a record-setting dyno pull for the event.
842, 805 torque. 805. 842 horsepower, 805 foot-pounds of torque.
I was hoping not to see everybody else get so completely destroyed by the Viper, frankly. We grade everything on a curve here. It's all on a 10 to 110 point scale, and the scale is based on the distance from the highest power to the lowest power. This guy just blew the curve. 842 horsepower just destroyed everybody.
The Viper dominates the dyno, delivering 170 horsepower more than its closest rival. The MR2 misfires at high RPM, but the staggering 9800 redline makes for a wide power band, placing it 4th in power delivery, despite placing only 5th on peak power.
I don't know if I'm going to win the event. It all depends, but I think that Viper, it's basically a tube chassis race car from the factory. It's got a roll cage. It handles like you can't believe. It's got probably more power than any car in the competition. Huge, big juicy torque curve. It's got incredible brakes. It's corner balanced and aligned, set up. So the weight transfers the way it's supposed to. It's got huge tires for mechanical grip. It's got all kinds of safety features. It's got a scatter shield, drive shaft loop, half shaft loops, cryogenically treated diff parts and the half shafts as well. It's got ceramic coatings on the engine, on the heads, the pistons, the exhaust, the headers are coated inside and out with jet hot. I mean, supposedly it's supposed to make a lot of power, but I don't believe any of that shit. But I think that I don't know if I'm going to win, but in all the performance categories, I think my car is going to be, a force to be reckoned with, and that's really all I can say.
Now let's see how clean they blow at the emissions test.
We've seen some really impressive numbers. I thought for the first few cars that the machine might be broken because it was registering almost nothing. So I've been really impressed.
The wrong cam profile causes the Ultima to barely hold an idle. Emissions are so far off the chart that it skews the rest of its results.
We had to move them up to the high scale rather than the low scale where all the other cars were. The worst other car we've had was 180, and he swung all the way up to 800 before settling back down.
Wow, that's not very flagrant at all, is it?
No, not too bad.
So I'm the cleanest flagrant abuser of the law car out so far. I can live with that.
No surprises here. The newest, lowest horsepower car, the Nissan 350Z, blows the cleanest out the pipe.
I feel that I have a very good car that's very well-rounded, that it's very drivable, very decent horsepower. I don't think we're going to excel in any particular area. I think we're going to do well in all areas, and that's why I think we have the perfect car to do it in.
Good old Granny. You gotta love her, because she loves cars. Of course, her faves are the Model T and the Edsel. She doesn't harbor much fondness for the newfangled jalopies, as she is quick to point out. Still, she has standards on what tickles her fancy and what breaks her colostomy bag. So Granny's the gal for this test.
All right, now that's not gonna work. Try left foot in first. Go ahead, Granny. Okay. All right, get your butt over a little bit. There you go.
Be nice to Grandma. Now he's gonna pinch Grandma's nipples.
That young man behind us is very upset with you. No tolerance. I tell you, you must know you're Canadian. People are so weird. You ever had gin in my Lanta?
But of course.
Woo! That'll
I think you should have a couple more before we go.
Oh, I'm saving it, baby. Okay, dear, I'm ready.
All right. Okay. Oh, look. Should we close the? Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I like this. This is nice. Very private for me.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, dear. We can go then.
Oh, should we close the door for you?
Sure.
Grandma's bowels are clear.
The 97 Supra wins the grandma test, and that gives it 110 points.
Cars that could kick my ass out here. Potentially, the Skyline looks intimidating. It's got some really sticky tires. I'm a handling guy. I'm not a high horsepower guy. I'm fast through turns. So a car that can stick and a car that can turn, an all-wheel drive car, that sounds pretty intimidating.
A lot of polish work we all did ourselves. Radiator panels in the front, some custom carbon fiber under the hood, some cover panels, neon light under the hood.
What about suspension?
Oh, suspension, we're running a custom Eibach spring rates. I'm running AGX shocks in the front, and we're running stock.
It's polish and shine time at the Black Magic Car Show. Points rack up in separate categories of aesthetics and audio innovation. The show judges are as ruthless as white-gloved Marine sergeants, poking, prodding, and looking for perfection.
Also have a hideaway tag measure.
We're going to do it on the drag strip, but, you know.
Some people are really excited by the car show. Obviously, money buys awards. Everything fits perfectly in James Chen's 350Z, a true show car inside and out.
I think I'm going to win this competition because I have the most well-rounded car. I have an engine that makes over 500 horsepower, revs to 10,000 RPM. I've got it's set up for road racing. It's good looking, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, drives nice, and it's got it going on.
The ADR Wheels drivability test puts the cars through real-world driving scenarios. The judges look at ergonomics, usable power, and a stealthy exterior. Victory goes to the 97 Supra as the definitive sleeper.
I've subscribed to Sport Compact car for several years now, and since I've bought the Mitsubishi Eclipse, I've always built it to street specifications, and the car was originally modified for the drag strip, but since I've entered this competition, we had to modify it so it can do well, and overall, not just only at the drag strip or horsepower, we also had to work on suspension, brakes, and as well as other components just to be all-around competition.
At the Nitto Tire Guru panel, the competitors are up for some tough scrutiny. Scoring here is about purpose and execution. Mediocre ideas done well count for more than good ideas done poorly.
ARP, of course, ARP is good on everything in people.
Well, all-wheel cars are probably a little easier. Yeah, we just have to divide the pan in half. So you weld the trays stuck together.
Sent to that water radiator. That's a water radiator of an R100 Mazda. It's aluminum, and each stage of the dry sump is kept separate there, so that deaerates and cools the oil. Because the V12 makes so much heat, we decided to put in.
Here's Jeff Chichov of the Progress Group on the Ultima.
The competition was, the vehicles were rolling in, and when we saw the Ultima
the perception of a kit car was the first thing that entered our mind from 100 feet away. And as we got closer to the car and looked at the details of this car, the level of engineering and the level of effort that went into this car was absolutely astounding. We left without a thought of a kit car in our head. And what a finely crafted vehicle that these Canadian boys put together, really on a budget, on a modest budget. And the amount of work they put in themselves and the attention to detail with every modification they made to an existing English kit.
Here's Jay Kavanaugh of Garrett on the MR2.
I was surprised to see the MR2. It is an older car. It's a 1991 second-gen MR2, which you don't see a lot of these days. This one was impressive for a number of reasons, particularly because, well, most importantly, the owner did most of the work himself. Actually, he did all the work himself. He dry sumped the block. The thing revs to 11,000 RPM. He created a main bearing web, did extensive work on the engine, and really in every aspect of the car, the owner did all the work. So it was really, really great to see that type of dedication to the vehicle.
Here's Mike Kent on the first-generation Eclipse.
On the 1G Eclipse, it was a fantastic engineering job by the owner, who did a lot of the work. It was designed to be a street car, and it was built to be a street car. He only changed what really needed to be changed, and he did a very good job at that. A lot of the parts where he could have spent a ton more money, he didn't. In fact, he had a lot of parts that he purchased that weren't on the car because they didn't do what he needed to do, and they just more got in the way than improved the ride.
The red Supra, I think it had some decent stuff on it. It was a little glitzy for me with all the monitors and screens and things like that it had on it. It tried to be a serious car, but then that kind of took away from the seriousness of the car.
With an impressive race car-like chassis and suspension, the Ultima breaks the kit car stereotype, taking the top spot. A miscalculation of ignition timing causing premature detonation on the dyno blows the head gasket and any chance of the MR2 continuing. So it's farewell to the MR2. 1 down, 9 to go.
I chose a V12 because I've always liked the smoothness of a V12. When I was quite young, I drove a V12 E-Type. It wasn't particularly quick, but it was so smooth. It was as smooth as a turbine. And of course, I've heard Ferrari V12s the odd time. We see the odd one up in Edmonton, and they sound so good. I could never afford one, so I thought I might try to create something with using that V12 in a mid-engine chassis, and then with the right exhaust system, make it sound like a Ferrari, and we have achieved that.
Heading out on a tortuous 72-mile route, the competitors are tempted to drive hard, but the need to conserve fuel and score points is greater. Judges are expecting strategies like drafting, coasting downhill with engines off, and anything to conserve fuel. It may be tempting to add a splash of fuel en route, but there's no chance. The judges tape the filler doors shut. The Skyline goes for an extra 10 points, a bonus to any of the competitors filling up with 91-octane pump gas.
Power is only one part of it. You know, another big part of having power is getting it to the ground. And with the Skyline, we're all-wheel drive. We stuffed more tire underneath this R32 than we've ever put underneath an R32. We've got a good amount of horsepower. We've got the suspension in the car. We've tested the car. And we've done actually quite a bit of testing, which we think is more important than anything else, is going out and actually testing the car.
What do I really think of the Viper?
The recap? The Viper came on strong, but expectations failed to materialize beyond the dyno. Detroit's Goliath must dominate the track, or the imports will send it home with its push rods between its tail. Don't think starting out with a Megabuck Racer scores big with the judges in the base price test. The car with the cheapest factory base price has the most to gain. The green stealthy Supra came out of left field to win several critical tests. At the end of the day, a 1991 Skyline R32 surprised everyone by racking up the most points. Day 2. The day's tests are skid pad, road course, 0 to 60 acceleration, 60 to 0 braking, quarter mile, and gross display of horsepower. For many of the competitors, the night was spent making last-minute changes for the track tests. Some, though, are still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. The Tokiko skid pad. It's all about lateral G's, suspension setup, horsepower, and tire adhesion. Everyone who could took advantage of the loose rules and are running on Hoosiers, barely street-legal DOT performance tires. At the 200-foot skid pad, only one of the 9 remaining competitors is unable to pull a G. With perfect balance, the Ultima, a race car with a license plate, takes the top spot.
If I had to pick a car that would probably kick our ass, I'd probably have to pick the Skyline, simply because it's all-wheel drive. And on the drag strip, we're going to be severely traction limited. With their all-wheel drive system, I think they're going to be able to come out of the hole and run some really good times.
The attraction of competition, especially the Ultimate Street Car Challenge, I think is just putting your money where your mouth is. I mean, there's a lot of guys that talk, and you know, now these days on the internet, everywhere, everybody can brag about what they have, but competition's kind of, just put it on the line, see what you got. You break, well, you break. If you win, but at least you're there to show what you have.
If you've got somebody else driving your car, you're responsible for having to hear this conversation. If you put 2 tires off, you come back and see me. I look at the car, I determine whether it's okay to go back out. If you put 4 tires off, you come back and see me. I look at the car, I determine if it's okay to go out. If you do that again, you're done. Okay? Last year we had cars going off. My publisher's coming up to me going, somebody's gonna die. I don't want anyone to die. All right?
And even the 2 tire off thing is serious, because most of you guys are on Hoosiers, which aren't really tires. You can't really go over rocks.
Yep, but what you need to understand is that the road course you're following is this, and it's marked out on a course that looks like this. So your first couple laps need to be slow behind Mitch to really learn where to go before you unleash your 900 horsepower.
Let's take a look at the Tokiko-sponsored 13-turn road course spread across the infield of the California Speedway. The layout of turns 1 and 2 create a tight gator edge chicane that opens onto a short straight. Turn 3 is a modest left-hander, with turn 4 sweeping slightly to the right. It's hard on the brakes, as turn 5 is a tight left. Holding the racing line in the middle of the track, corners 6, 7, and 8 become a single right-hand sweeper that carries speed onto the back straight. Between turns 8 and 9, the cars race through the bus stop, a series of quick 90-degree turns. Through turns 9 and 10, it's flat out. Turn 11 is a decreasing radius and is difficult at best. A short straight and the car enters the last chicane, turns 12 and 13. Then it's balls to the wall up the front straight to the start-finish line. A practice session prior to the time trials offers the competitors a chance to familiarize themselves with the twisty course. However, some push their luck, which could quickly call an end to their day.
We just pulled this turbo out of the green car, and we got to put it in Scott's car, and we got about 30 minutes before the next event. You know the camera adds 10 pounds, right?
I need 14s or fucking 9/16ths or something. Fucking 2 more fucking pairs of pliers. Whoa.
Oh, my bad, sorry. Don't worry about it. It's a 12.
Oh, son of a bitch. That's what I get for not graduating.
Can I get 12?
Here's where handling and power come together. The editors are looking for the fastest laps. The Skyline spins a bearing, leaving pieces of the block and the connecting rod all over the track, scratching it from the competition. Two down, 8 to go.
Fucking blow a piece of the block. Cast iron block, aluminum oil pan, dipstick on the floor. He left the oil streak for about 150 yards.
With its raw power, the Viper could have easily been the hero, but as the dust settles at the road course, the 350Z continues to pile on the points. Now for some straight line fun at the ADR Wheels drag strip test. Quarter mile, 0 to 60, and 60 to 0 braking are what count. The ultimate bad boy from Detroit. With more than 800 horsepower on tap, this is Viper territory. Or is it? Although designed more for cornering, today the mid-engine Ultima dominates the drag strip. The final test, the gross display of horsepower. It's about showmanship and shredding your tires.
wants to know who won?
For the Viper, this time it wasn't a stone that felled Goliath, it was a horde of capable imports. Like it or not, the Viper needs to understand it's sharing the road with a new type of performance car. Oh, the Ultima. Slipping a race car under the radar of the local DMV doesn't make it the ultimate street car. Close, very close, but not enough.
In first place, Sport Compact Car, Ultimate Street Car Challenge 2003. James Chen, 350Z.
That's two.
I know.
That's two.
I know.
Flash and dash. Who would have guessed that the ultimate street car for 2003 would be the Nissan 350Z? That's how the points stacked up. It wasn't first in every test, but it was right there, scoring high enough to put it at the top of the podium. See you next time at the Ultimate Street Car Challenge.
Thank you.
For more information about the Ultimate Street Car Challenge, log on to sportcompactcarweb.com or pick up the latest issue of Sport Compact Car magazine at the newsstand.